there is something you've been meaning to do. Maybe you know exactly what it is. Maybe you've been carrying it for months or longer. Maybe you've started it in your head 100 times, but you haven't started it yet because you don't feel ready. Hi, friends. Welcome back to English with Moon. The moon doesn't wait until the sky is clear to rise. It rises anyway, sometimes hidden behind cloud, sometimes only a sliver of itself visible. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Tonight, I want to talk honestly about readiness and what we get wrong about it. Let's begin. Here is what I used to believe. I thought that one day, if I prepared enough and learned enough and waited long enough, I would feel ready. I would feel confident. The fear would be gone, or at least quieter. And then, from that place of steadiness and certainty, I would begin. I waited a long time for that feeling. It didn't come, because here is the truth about readiness. For most things that matter truly matter. The feeling of being ready doesn't come before you begin. It comes from beginning. You don't feel ready before your first conversation in a new language. You feel something more like readiness after you've had it, imperfect, stumbling, but real. You don't feel ready before you start the project, or have the difficult conversation, or take the first step towards something you've been afraid of for a long time. The readiness is on the other side of the beginning, not before it. And the people who wait until they feel ready often wait forever. There is a comfort in preparation. While we are preparing, we feel like we are doing something. We are researching, gathering information, planning the next step. We are in motion, even if we are not yet beginning, and preparation can be genuinely necessary. You do need to know something before you write the first chapter. You do need some knowledge before you start the new thing. But at some point, and this is the trap, preparation becomes a way of never having to arrive, because arrival is exposed. Beginning is risky. The moment you actually start, you can fail. You can be seen struggling. You can discover that you are not as ready as you hoped, and that discovery, out in the open, is frightening. As long as you are still preparing, none of that can happen. The preparation becomes a very sophisticated way of staying safe. Safe from judgment. Safe from the discomfort of being a beginner. Safe from the possibility of finding out that the thing you've wanted is harder than it looked. But there is a cost to safe. Safe is controlled. Safe means nothing unexpected happens. But nothing unexpected also means nothing surprising. Nothing surprising means nothing that could delight you. Nothing that could change you. No moment of turning a corner and finding that you were more capable than you believed. There is also something that happens to us psychologically when we stay in the preparation room too long. We start to mistake familiarity with readiness. The longer we plan, the more detailed and elaborate our mental version of the thing becomes. We have imagined the beginning so many times that it feels almost like we've done it. And when we compare the imagined version to the actual messy reality that would come from starting, reality loses. The imagined beginning is always cleaner, always more confident, always free from the embarrassment of not quite knowing what we're doing. And so we stay in the imagination, preparing, refining the picture, waiting for reality to match. It never does. The preparation room is comfortable, but it only has one door, the one you came in. The life you are preparing for is through a different door entirely, and you can only reach it by beginning. Here is something I've come to understand about fear. Fear is not always a warning to stop. Sometimes it is a signal that something matters. We don't feel afraid of things we don't care about. We feel afraid of things that are important to us, things where failure would mean something, things we truly want, things we've been imagining for long enough that the distance between who we are and who we might be has started to feel very wide. The fear is a measure of the value. A famous author once said that he felt most afraid right before he started writing something he believed in, not before a piece he was indifferent to, before the things that mattered most. He learned to use that fear as a compass. When the fear was loudest, he knew he was closest to something real. Think about the thing you've been waiting to feel ready for. Why are you afraid? Maybe because it matters to you deeply. Maybe because you can imagine it going wrong, and that image is painful. Maybe because trying means risking something, your time, your hope, your vision of who you might be. But not trying means something too. It means staying exactly where you are and wondering, always, what would have happened if you had begun? What version of yourself might have been possible on the other side of the beginning? I want to tell you about a man named Paulo. Paulo had wanted to write a letter to his estranged father for 8 years. 8 years. In those 8 years, the estrangement sat at the edge of everything. At family gatherings, Paulo would think about his father's absence. At milestones, a new job, a birthday, moments he knew his father would have wanted to hear about, he would feel the unwritten letter waiting. Not urgent, but constant. A steady wait. He had started it many times. He had drafts on paper and in his phone. He had thought about what he wanted to say more times than he could count, while commuting, lying awake, in the quiet moments between other thoughts. But every time he sat down to write, truly write, it felt too big, too uncertain. What if his father didn't respond? What if he said the wrong thing? What if the letter made things worse, not better? What if 8 years of silence had calcified into something that words couldn't reach? And so he waited until he had the right words, until he felt ready, until some internal signal would tell him, now, today, this is the moment. The signal never came. One morning, he got a call. His father had been in hospital. He was okay, but in that phone call, Paulo heard something in his father's voice he hadn't heard before. Something that made the 8 years suddenly feel very heavy. He came home that evening, sat down, and wrote the letter. Not the perfect letter, the real one. Unpolished, uncertain, honest. He didn't try to make it beautiful. He just tried to make it true. His father called him 2 days later. They talked for 3 hours. Paulo told me, 8 years. I waited 8 years for the right words, and the right words were just the true ones. I had them all along. He didn't need more time to feel ready. He needed a reason to start. 8 years. I keep coming back to that number. Paulo waited 8 years to write that letter. And in those 8 years, the relationship with his father stayed frozen. Not healed, not resolved, not ended, even just suspended. And the waiting didn't make the beginning easier. The fear didn't soften with time. If anything, the stakes felt higher with each year, the silence longer, the imagined failure more catastrophic, the gap between them wider. Waiting for readiness doesn't make the beginning easier. It just makes the not beginning harder. Paulo said the most surprising thing about finally writing the letter was how simple it actually was. Not easy, not painless, but simple. He sat down. He wrote true things. He sent it. One evening, 8 years of waiting, and the actual doing took one evening. I want to say something about imperfect starts. Every beginning is imperfect. There is no other kind. The first draft is always rough. The first conversation is always awkward. The first attempt is always smaller and messier than what you imagined it would be. This is not a problem. This is how things begin. A child doesn't wait until they can walk perfectly before they stand up. They stand up. They fall. They stand again. Each time a little steadier. The falling is not the opposite of learning. It is the learning. You are allowed to be unsteady at the beginning. The unsteadiness is not evidence that you started too soon. It is evidence that you are in the process of becoming capable, that you are learning in the only way learning actually works, by doing the thing. The imperfect start is not a failed start. It is the only kind of start that exists. I want to say something about what happens in the moment of beginning. In that moment, the moment you actually start, however imperfectly, something shifts. Not in the world, not yet, but inside you. There is a shift from someone who is thinking about doing this to someone who is doing this. That sounds small, but it is enormous, because the story you tell yourself about who you are starts to change. Not from failure to success, not from scared to confident, but from someone who wishes they had started to someone who started. And that person, the one who started, has access to something the preparer never could. Evidence. They know what it actually feels like to begin. They know the specific challenges, not the imagined ones. They know they survived the first moment. And that changes the calculation for the second moment. And the second moment changes the third. This is what momentum is. Not the absence of difficulty, not the disappearance of fear, just forward motion building on itself, each completed step becoming the foundation for the next. The boulder at the top of the hill has no momentum. The boulder that has started to roll gathers it with every foot. You can't get momentum without starting. And you can't start without accepting the imperfection of beginning. You have been waiting long enough, not because you are running out of time, but because the waiting itself has a cost. Every day you wait, you carry the weight of the undone thing, the unlived possibility, the unbegun beginning that you know is there at the edges, asking you when. And that weight is heavier than the beginning would be. I know you are afraid. I know the thing feels big. I know there are real reasons why you haven't started yet. Some of them genuinely reasonable. Some of them old protection that used to be necessary and has stayed past its usefulness. But I also know this: you will never feel completely ready. Nobody does. The people you admire who seem so confident in what they do, they started before they felt ready too. They were afraid. They were uncertain. They began anyway. And on the other side of that beginning, they found what you are looking for. Not certainty, not the absence of fear, but momentum, and the knowledge earned, not imagined that they could. Paulo had the words all along. 8 years, and the words were already there. You do too. And here is the thing about Paulo's 8 years. It didn't go to waste. He carried the relationship with his father in his mind for 8 years. He thought about what he wanted to say. He felt the grief of the distance. He held the care, even when it had nowhere to go. And when he finally wrote the letter, all of that thinking and feeling and caring was in it. It came through in every line. The preparation wasn't entirely wasted. It was just delayed past the point where it was useful by fear. Your preparation isn't wasted either. Whatever time you've spent thinking about the thing, imagining the thing, circling around the thing, it is in you. It will come with you when you start. Whatever it is you've been waiting to begin, the letter, the project, the conversation, the first step toward the version of yourself you keep imagining, the words are there. The capacity is there. You don't have to leap. You just have to take one step. What is one small step you could take today? Not the whole thing, not the finished product. Just one small true step in the direction of the thing you've been waiting to begin. Write one sentence, make one call, open one document, say one thing you've been holding. Just begin imperfectly today. You already have the words. You had them all along. Thank you for listening tonight. This is English with Moon, where we slow down and grow together. I want to know, what is the one thing you've been waiting to start? Tell me in the comments. Naming it is itself a kind of beginning. Come back on Thursday for our next episode. And until then, you already have the words. You had them all along. Good night, friends.